Hi, this is my interactive design programming assignment. I decided to create a game from scratch because I wanted to get some practicing building a project in Unity 5. So I made a game with a cat flying around a living room. So here's the touchscreen control. See, there's an animation for when you hit the air vent and you go upward, and when you move off the air vent, gravity brings you all the way down. You can land on your master's head just like a real cat. So all the controls do is left and right. Um, the This picture or the game is centered at the origin of 0. So anything greater than 0 that you touch moves the cat to the right, and anything less than 0 moves the cat to the left. I made this drop-down menu. Here's control pad. Now, instead of the touch screen, you control him using these little paw prints, which works nicely, actually. It's pretty effective. I think a virtual controller could be implemented on a mobile game, if there's not too many buttons. See, it's just 2 buttons. It's not too bad. And finally, I also added an accelerometer control, which I'll lift up the tablet, which when you tilt to the left, he goes to the left, and when you tilt to the right, the cat goes to the right. I'm thinking about implementing this into a real game. Instead of maybe a cat with a cape, it's a cat with wings. And I would use the control pad interface to move him left and right, and then have another button over here to make him fly up in the air and have him flap his wings. And, he could start in the living room like this, and next thing you know, go out the window, and then he's in a country setting outside, flying over a fence. I could have fun with it. Now, notice the red camera icon on the flat screen TV in the game. I'm going to try to do my best to record while I capture. So I have my cat on the ground here. Unfortunately, this Nexus camera is not very good. But if I get close to it, pardon me, I'm going to have to push the red button. I just did that. And again, it's hard to see because the camera's so bad. But it did save my cat on the flat screen TV. So while you're playing the game, you can look at your picture. And every time you touch the TV, it takes a new picture. Sorry about this. It's a terrible video. See that? Every time I tap, it changes the very dark picture that the Nexus 7 camera shows. Code for the interactive design programming assignment. I'll be covering the 4 scripts I wrote to create this small game demo. The first one is the drop-down menu script. I have the main button in the Unity 4.6 or Unity 5.0 user interface, and when you press it, a panel is displayed which has the 3 options, one for touchscreen, one for control pad, and one for accelerometer. And through the Unity UI system, when you click on touchscreen, it calls this function, which sets the panel to false and changes the selection to 1, which puts the text touchscreen on that first initial button. Likewise, control pad picks 2, and accelerometer button calls this function pick 3. And the update function runs constantly, and based on the selection, it displays the proper text on the main button. Move script moves the cat. This first section is keyboard control, which I used for the initial testing. And then once I actually converted it to the device, I incorporated that same selection we had. So case 1 is touchscreen, and it finds the coordinates that you touch, converts it to 2-dimensional X and Y, And easy enough, if your position is greater than 0, right click, which really means move the character right. And if your position is less than 0, move your position to the left. And again, 0 is the center um, vertical origin of this game. It's in the center of the screen. So at this point, take your moving, which is what's decided in left click or right click, multiply that by the speed of the cat, and add the force. Also, if you pick 2 for the control pad, it takes the position of your touch and it matches it up to the collider of the left and right controller buttons for the pause. And if it matches up to the left button, which is my collider L, again, call left click, which is left move. And if it's to the right collider, call right click. And I have these on phase began, phase moved, and phase stationary. So if your finger's just holding the button, it'll still keep moving to the right. And this works because I set moving initially to 0. So if you're not touching anything, it'll just 0, 0, 0, 0. But if you are touching something, that's when it goes in, assigns a value to the velocity, and at the end, again, calculates the force x and adds the force to the cat. Case 3 is the accelerometer, and that was pretty much the easiest. This is the whole accelerometer API. Input acceleration times x times the speed. So if you're holding it, if the acceleration is plus, it'll go to the right, and if the accelerometer detects a minus in the x direction, then you're going to the left. And that's what's right here. If force x is greater than 0, move to the right. If force x is less than 0, move to the left. And again, add your force and add it to the cat. And here are those functions, right click and left click, I've been using the whole time. So right click means you're going to the right, which is set down here. 1 and 1 means to the right, whereas left, it's -1 and -1. And the only thing it checks that if it's the right click function, but the cat's already moving to the left, which is signified by this -1, that's when you have to pretty much flip the picture of the cat so it looks like he's walking to the left and to the right. But if he's already moving to the right, then just do nothing. And I did this a really back-asswards way. I should have just used the Unity animator and just had 4 states. A state for, upright, down right, left, down. And instead, I had to rotate the cat and then scale and then rotate it back. And it was just a few extra steps where if I just used the Unity animator, I could have single cell animations and I could have just converted through the states by flipping a variable. At the start of this script, I set the screen orientation to landscape and get those colliders that I talked about for the button left and the button right from the Unity GUI. And also get the rigid body from the cat itself so we'll know when it's colliding. Okay, cat script, it's called cat script, but it's really gravity script. All this does is determine when you're going over those heater zones to, accelerate the cat up or down. And again, you get the rigid body from the cat. And on every frame, if the position is between, like I said, the origin is 0. So if you're going to the left and the position is between -1.6 and 2.5, that means you're in the heater zone. Also, on the right side of the screen, if you're in between position 1.83 and 2.5, that's the right heater zone that brings the cat upward. So instead of having the positive gravity that it usually have, if this condition is true, then set to negative gravity, which goes up. It's kind of counterintuitive. Positive gravity goes down, negative gravity goes up. I guess it makes sense. And this lock is just a little clever mechanism I had to use just to make sure the cat was doing the right thing. And same thing. I have the rotation and the This handles the rotation of when the cat looks up when he's going upward and then looks down when he's going downward. Okay, and if this initial condition is not true, then put your gravity back to positive direction, which is downward, and same thing. And here's the camera component. So I have the webcam texture, which is just that cube, which is shown as the television in the game. Game icon is that little red picture of cam icon is the red camera picture. And TV collider is the TV itself, so you'll know when you press the TV to snap a picture. So you start with your basic webcam setup. Apply the texture, play the webcam. I had to flip the camera vertically and horizontally to get the picture that I take to be the same orientation as what I see. Otherwise, it was upside down and backwards. And again, getting the collider from the television. When you take the snapshot, it just, uses the webcam API to snap a picture and apply it. And then I render the picture right on top of the television itself, which is the same feed that the webcam texture is. So that's why it shows the webcam, and once you click the picture, it just shows the picture. And then if you press the television screen again, it'll save a new picture. And update, this is called every frame. And if you do have a touch, and the phases began, check to see if the initial touch, so I only care about the first touch in this game. So if you're touching the left arrow and the cat's moving left and you hold your finger down but then touch the right side, it'll still go left because it only cares about touch 0, which is the first touch that was on the screen. So it matches your finger to the TV collider, and if that's the case, set that little red picture of the camera to false because we don't need that anymore, and take the snapshot. And that's about it.